talk about it. Won't let it sit on your mind. When you talk about it, know that it will be alright. Let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone. You are tuned into the Mindful Podcast. On this episode, we are going to be talking about code switching.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I got my lovely guests here with me, Pilar and Kris. Check out Kris's shirt for the viewers that are watching on YouTube.
Super dope.
Just get a
No
close-up of this
racism,
real
no
quick.
bigotry, no patriarchy.
Hey, you think it's cool like that, but wait until you get them.
Right. Resist.
Yeah.
Resist.
Amen.
So before we start talking about code switching, I want to know how you guys are feeling today.
I'm feeling good. I'm happy to be in this space. I love what you do, so I'm feeling blessed. Thank you.
I'm happy that we're finally getting to collaborate.
Right.
Because it's
been a long time.
And this is going to be the first time, but
Yeah.
hopefully there will be more time.
Definitely.
How about you?
I'm well. Very, very tired. Been a long week, but I'm well. And actually, I was thinking about this on the way over because I know every podcast starts like this. So I wanted to be very mindful of what I said. And I wanted to be, honestly, I'm very grateful and thankful for social workers in general.
Yeah.
Because without them, it'd be tough to get through this stuff. Especially the work that we're all doing.
Yeah.
For sure. So.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And shout out to y'all for pursuing that and doing that. So compliments to you guys.
Thank you.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, this was a rough week for me, so I'm, like, happy that I'm ending on such a positive note.
Right.
Like, today was super busy, but I feel like I found the silver lining in, like, every situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good, and
That's
I'm
out
happy
of
I'm
the
ending it
situation.
with you guys.
Yes. Thank you.
Be here.
Yeah, me too. Super happy.
So I want to start off by just getting a definition from you guys for what you think code switching is, because I think it's important for us to have an understanding of language as how we see it before we dive into a conversation, because the people listening might have another definition of code switching. So what does it mean to you, so that when we begin to have this conversation, we have some context around it?
Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah, no doubt. So I think for me, being biracial, I think if I had a memoir, it would be Talking White While Living Black. I think that's what...
I like that.
Yeah.
Can we snap it?
Right.
That was
Right.
bars.
But
Yeah.
I like that. Hey.
You thought of it, bro.
You just yours.
I might have a career in this rap stuff. You know? But I do think it's something, obviously, being biracial, again, I definitely kind of feel like that's how I navigate the world. And we'll get into it, obviously. But it definitely is, that's how I see it, is something that it's either a gift or a curse.
Definitely.
So, yeah, that's how I would view it in my own words.
I think I'm going to piggyback off of that, because code switching is something that we kind of use as a survival tactic. Well, what people think that we use as survival tactics, when in fact we're really just educated, So for me growing up, it wasn't really code switching. It was just speaking proper English, But then you go out into the world and you see people putting all these labels on how you speak properly, and then it becomes code switching, because you have to make people feel comfortable with the way you speak, by putting a label on it. So for me, it's just like, it's a language that you have to adapt to, I guess, in certain environments to survive.
I totally agree, and I like that you mentioned the word label when you said proper English, because at first when you said proper English, I was like,
Yeah.
Because what is proper English?
Right.
And even just education.
Yep. What is speaking
as an educated person? Because education doesn't necessarily mean college.
Right.
You can be educated in so many various things, and I think intelligence also is something that is transferable to so many
Absolutely.
different things too. You can have academic intelligence.
Right.
Me, I'm not a tech person at all,
me
so
neither.
I don't have that form of
Right,
intelligence.
right.
But I might be strong in another place.
Right.
So it's like, I like that you ended with the
Yep.
label, because
It's a label. It's a label. No, girl. Yeah. Label.
I love that you said that as well, and I do think it's important that we take, code switching with the context of or history rather, that it stems from so much segregation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we, growing up black, like that's just, if you're growing up around all black folks,
Right.
that's what you're gonna, that's how you're gonna speak. Those are the norms. That's the culture that you're growing up. If you're growing up with all white folks or
Right.
whatever the case may be, that's going to be how
Yeah.
you're speaking. That's your culture. So I love that you said, I kind of want to put it in parentheses, like the normal version of how you're speaking, the proper way.
Right.
So I love that you said that.
And when you look up code switching, or when I looked up code switching, like a long time ago, it was, just changing your language. So it could even be, say, if you're talking to someone who is from Latin America, they are speaking in their language, and then they come to America and they have to learn English. And you see some of my Puerto Rican friends, they'll be speaking English, and then they'll be like, adios mio, in the middle of the conversation.
Yep.
That's also code switching, because you're changing your origin, your dialect that you're grown up with to accommodate, someone else, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, like code switching the other way, because that's something that I've been thinking about in preparation for this conversation. So I think maybe similarly to you guys, I've had experience like going to school with a predominantly like minority population, also predominantly white.
Right.
And like depending on the space that I'm in, like to your point, like I have spoken differently. So growing up, I was always in like advanced classes, and like even when I was in like Brockton, which was super diverse, in those advanced classes would be a lot of white people.
Right.
So I was speaking a certain way because of the education that I was getting, and just like naturally, I love words.
Right.
So like
Right.
people all the time are like, you use big words, you use big words, and I get that from everyone.
Right.
Black people,
white
people,
people, yeah.
like since I was younger.
Right.
And a lot of people thought it was coming from a very like pretentious
Yeah.
point of view.
Right.
It was just like, I love words.
You do,
I used to
right.
read the dictionary for fun. When
yeah.
we had vocab
Yeah.
words, I would be like, oh, how am I going to use this?
Right,
Like,
right.
these sentences
Yes.
this week. Like I was super excited to do that kind of stuff. And as I got older, I went to Brockton High, which was like predominantly black. Like the N-word wasn't like a part of my vocabulary.
Right.
So when I got to Brockton High, I was on the track team. The track team was like, predominantly black.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, N-word this,
Right.
And then like I said it one day, and my friend Brianna, I will never forget, was just like, you say it weird.
Right. Oh, that I can relate.
And I was trying to survive in another context, like, by trying to fit in,
You
say
want to
the
fit in,
N-word.
yeah.
I was like, I got caught.
Right.
Imposter.
Right.
So that's actually perfect. The imposter.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but with code switching, we'll just talk about work for right now.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm in a situation, I'll be talking to somebody in a higher level or whatever. Obviously it's the vernacular you're using, the way you're forming your sentences way differently. But then when you speak with a coworker, and a coworker that's black at that,
right?
I just feel like I'm getting caught doing something wrong.
Right.
And I feel like I'm not being authentic to myself.
Right.
Like, I don't know if that's happened to you guys. Like how you feel about that. Like that's something that I'm struggling with, and I want to get better at that, because I know that has nothing to do with my authenticity, but more so to do with my survival in that situation.
Yeah. I can kind of relate. I think that growing up, I was around a certain population, other educated black people, so it didn't feel that way until I was around people who didn't necessarily have the same school background as me, or didn't necessarily emphasize, reading books and reading the dictionary. So when I got around people who didn't necessarily have that same track as me, then I felt like, ooh, I need to not dumb myself down, but I need to change the way I speak, because I won't fit in. And I experienced that when I went to a private school, and then I transitioned to Milton High growing up. And even though Milton High is predominantly white at the time, the black population was still N-word this, N-word that, you know, just a different dialect than I was used to at my private school. So when I got there, they're like, the black people like, you a black white girl, you know, like, and then the white people took a liking to me because they thought that we were similar. And in all reality, I'm like, no, I'm black, you know, but I don't speak, you know, slang or whatever it was at the time, however you want to term it. And I felt a lot of like identity crisis because it's like, well, who am I? You know, if I don't necessarily want to be labeled white, I'm not white. I definitely want to be labeled black, but I'm not accepted because of the way I speak. So who should I be? And then you battle with, okay, so if I'm experiencing this war, where do I go? You know, do I change everything I was grown up to do to fit in, or do I just do what I have to do to fit in and survive? Back to your point. And it's stuff that I feel like we still deal with. You know?
I love that. Yeah, no, I definitely, and I think it's interesting that we've all had very similar experiences, especially, you know, being in these situations in schools and being considered like educated, or, you know, when white people bring up, oh, you're so articulate, and how many times all of us, I'm sure, can attest to this. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I feel like we can all attest to the fact that that is not a compliment.
It's not.
That is not a compliment. Please, don't, white people out there, please don't
do it. Don't do it.
It sounds like y'all surprised.
Right.
You didn't expect us to be articulate. Right. You didn't expect us to be able to get our point across in a quote-unquote educated way. And I just always, I'd be like, if I was like this woman over there, would you be saying the same?
And they wouldn't.
Exactly.
They wouldn't.
No.
Exactly.
You know?
Not to mention that's all driven by the dominant culture, which, as we know, in America is white.
It's white,
So how do you define, you know, what's right or wrong? To get back to the very first point, is how? You know, like how is that right or wrong?
One of the things like I struggle with is like I notice when I'm presenting and I feel like the room is very stagnant, I'll go into like being more like rhythmic when I talk and like talking a little bit more like ethnic, and like just thinking about like the authenticity conversation. I'm like, am I like making a caricature out of like being black because I know that's gonna get people to engage more, or am I just like realizing that the room needs more liveliness, and I know that like black vernacular has that rhythm to it. So like that's something I've noticed about myself that I'm like, I don't know if I'm like faking the funk, or if that's something that like is just like naturally me.
I mean, I think it's naturally you. I think that how we speak is us, like, and the things that we choose to do in that environment, it comes from somewhere, and that's like our internal urge to be who we are, you know, and it's also a survival mechanism because you have to adjust to your environments. And it doesn't mean that you're fake because you have to put on your professional voice, or if you have to tell your homegirls, hey, what's up, sis? Like, for me, that balance is everything because that's who I am. You know, that's who makes me educated, but also just fun and lively and relatable, you know? I don't want to always be professional in settings that I'm supposed to be relaxed.
That's true. And that's also a sign of intelligence. Like the way we look at like having multiple language skills, like as an asset. I think being able to speak like Ebonics and then go to having your professional way of talking, that's intelligence.
Yeah, it is. It's a skill.
Exactly.
It is. It's a skill.
And we don't get the credit for that. And instead it's looked for, you know, it's frowned upon.
It's frowned upon. Yeah.
It should be something that, again, you know, that's hard to navigate situations like that. It's so hard to try and balance being one person. So imagine you don't have those pressures. It's tough to be just one person.
Just
like
one,
that. You know, you have to, now you're trying to navigate all these different social circles to try and fit into that social, you know, that whatever that social circle is that you're trying to actually get into. So that's
I'm about to put that on my resume as languages, like African American vernacular.
Yeah.
We should.
I'm about to do it like for real and see if like people like question it in interviews.
Oh, they'll be like circles. What is this?
That would be wild. Yeah,
Or
now
would
imagine
you?
trying to walk into an interview and speaking the way, you know what I mean? But you're qualified.
You're
so
qualified,
you're giving them all the
right,
answers,
right.
But you're speaking like that. What do you
Right,
know what I mean?
That'd
right.
be such a dope social experiment.
It would be
We should
such.
do
fire.
We
that.
should. Oh my God, I would love to do
Have
it.
like a little hidden GoPro.
Right,
somewhere.
right,
I put
right.
it in my fro.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
do it.
Man,
Right.
Lawsuit central. Here we come.
Right.
One thing that I've been thinking about
Mm-hmm.
is like not just the verbal code switching, but like body language,
Mm-hmm.
and then also just like the stereotype of being an angry Black woman.
Mm.
Like Pilar, let me know if you've like had to kind of feel like you have to police yourself
Yes.
in the work environment, not because you're angry,
Yeah.
but even because you are angry.
Right.
What we were talking about earlier was the James Baldwin.
Oh,
quote,
yeah.
like, to be Black in America and to be conscious
Mm-hmm.
is to be in a state of rage all the time. So our anger is warranted, right?
Right,
It's like
right.
it's not that we're angry for no reason.
Right.
A lot of people like to pinpoint the angry Black woman
Right.
as kind of like a scapegoat. To
Right.
Like, okay, she's just angry.
Yeah.
She has no valid
Right.
reason to be, so we're going to paint her as this picture. But do you feel like you have to police yourself so that you don't come across that way?
Yes.
And like, just if you could speak to like that experience.
Absolutely. So in my workspace and in my school space. So for my workspace, I'm actually the only Black staff out of 50 staff members.
Wow.
So last year I was there full time as a school counselor, and I loved it because I was able to develop kind of my own social emotional curriculum. But on the other hand, I was very isolated because I was the only Black woman, only Black person, and then being a Black woman and then in a leadership role with a whole bunch of white women. So for me, in a leadership role, being Black, being probably the youngest on the team, there were a lot of times that, you know, I had good ideas. I know I had, you know, the right answers because I prepared for it. Not just because I know everything, but I prepared to be here. So I'm going to be ready because we have to stay ready being Black. But so there were times where there was just lots of microaggressions, you know, and it really just made me feel like, yo, I'm already alone physically here, but you undermining my intelligence and, you know, pushing me to a point where I can't even say anything because I don't have anybody to have my back right now. I would have that internal rage, you know. I remember a meeting with someone at my job, and, you know, this was this year actually, I was in school, you know, and I had to step down from my role, which already caused a little bit of friction because, you know, they wanted me to be there full time, as did I, but I also have to pursue my other dreams, and getting my doctorate is a priority.
Snap for that.
We were in a meeting with thank you. We were in a meeting with parents just following up from the summer, seeing how one of my students had done over the summer and the progress that they made. And the parent was like, so excited, Pilar, like, congratulations on getting into your doctoral program. And my colleague was like, don't congratulate her. She didn't get her doctorate yet. Congratulate her if she makes it.
In front of your face?
In front of my face, in front of the parents. All white, and I'm here, and oh, so usually I would be like, what? Yeah. Like, excuse me? No, do you know how hard I had to even work to even get to this point?
Yeah.
But I had to police myself at that time. Think about where you are, Pilar.
Yeah.
Take some deep breaths. Pray before you respond, because that response can change the trajectory of everything, because you're in a white space. You're not in a space where you're technically safe. So I had to talk to myself inside of my head, which is also hard because your face, sometimes we have that automatic reaction. You want to respond like, hold up. What? You know, but I couldn't in that moment, and it's like so defeating at times because that happens so many times. That was just one instance, but it happens everywhere when you're in a space that may not support people who look like you. So lots of yeah.
Wow.
That's real.
That's powerful, and I think I can't obviously speak for black women, but we got to be better to our black women first and foremost. But second, I think that is something that all black folks, people of color, have to do all the time. Like you said, is actively thinking about what you're going to do or say in fear of being judged, you know, in order to, again, to attain the social standing that white culture, white privilege has kind of placed as the norm.
As a norm.
Yep. And the thing is, you can still go through that process in your head, and still they will paint you as the angry black woman. Because I feel like just because I'm passionate, like I move in the workplace with a sense of urgency, a lot of people don't understand that, and they don't know how to react to that. So I feel like the easy place to put me in is like, okay, she's angry. When again, like
you're not.
I'm not.
You're not at
I'm
all.
Passionate. I talk with rhythm.
I
talk
with soul, with purpose.
It's tough.
It is so tough
because it strips you of your. It really does. It strips you of your
identity.
And then on the other hand, it's such a powerful tool to get back to the fact that, you know, it really does. It opens up these doors for you to get in, to sit at these tables that you wouldn't be able to sit at if you know, we're not able to code switch like this. You didn't have the skill to code switch like this. So it's I think about it often where I am thankful that I know how to do it, but also at the same time, I want to get back to your point. Like, I want to stay as authentic to myself as I possibly can. So I struggle with that, but it is a very powerful tool.
It is. And I think that, you know, for me, because I feel like I've been in so many spaces that didn't necessarily represent like my voice and my being, that my identity was stripped. And the more I get closer to myself and who I am, the more comfortable I am to bring my identity into those spaces. So it's like before I would be silent, you know, when things were clearly wrong. And you don't say that to people. You can't assume that because I'm black, I am going to represent this black culture doing this and that's no, you know. So, and before I would just be going along with it because it's like you want to be safe. You want to continue to be invited to those spaces because those spaces represent who you are in terms of your level up. But then you are conflicted because your level up sometimes feels uncomfortable because who else is around you that looks like you? So now I feel like I'm just getting more comfortable in who I am, and in certain spaces I'm able to bring a little bit more rhythm and feel good about it, whereas before I would shrink.
And I'm glad we're talking about the growth too, because I feel like when I was younger, like similarly, I would be silent about situations, and I was actually writing my paper for my doctoral program in that application.
We speak it into existence.
I'm applying.
You got it.
I sent my personal statement to one of my former teachers. She's an English teacher at Brockton High. Shout out to Ms. Filkins. My track coach too. But within that paper, I have a poem where I talk about a situation in 9th grade where a teacher, I was speaking Creole to another student, and a teacher said it sounded like I was like speaking like a monkey. And I remember I was just like so like taken aback, like I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have the language, I didn't have the courage or the understanding to really say anything. So I just was just like, what? Like, what'd you say? And then, like, she just was, like, silent, and then I just, like, went about my day. And then Ms. Filkins, in one of her, like, responses to my paper was just like, did this teacher, like, really say that to you? Because she works in the school, so she knows the teacher's there. And I was like, yeah. And then I just told her about how it was just a struggle for me to, like, not say anything at that time. And, but, like, I do feel like now that I have the understanding of the language and the platform to be having this conversation, like it's important that we're speaking about these things now. And one of the other things that I was thinking about as you guys were talking is just like how inequitable like the fact that code switching does bring us to the table and gives us access and gives us a voice, not a superior voice to like the white people at the table, but it gives us some sort of voice. So it's like how do we support like the people? Yes, we can be a voice
Yeah.
for them, but how do we like bring people to the table that don't have the skill of
Right.
code switching and give them the same access without having to develop that skill?
Yeah. For me, I don't ever want to bring someone to a table that they're not prepared to eat, you know? So instead, you go to their table and you model how to eat. Like, this is how you eat. And I think, like, that's what I want to do for my organizations. You got to be in the community. Like, you can be relatable to the White House, and you have to be relatable to the hood. So that's how you teach people if they think that they can relate to you. So it's like, the ultimate goal is for you to be at this table with these access, this higher power, this whatever, superiority, but you have to work towards it. We've had to work towards it. Even if we were born into an educated family and we read books and stuff, we still had to learn how to be in those spaces, as do people who aren't in those spaces. You have to learn it. You know, you can't just go send somebody somewhere and they're not prepared to go, because then that makes you look bad. You know, then we'll be like, they'll look at us like, do you even deserve to be here? If you're bringing Joe Schmo in here and they're clapping their hands and rolling their neck, no, they'll discredit our whole being that we've worked forever for. So it's like, we'll come to you. Let's do this as a community and learn together, and then you come. For me.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's important to give people that sense of autonomy, especially to keep your sense of you authentic, you know. But for me, and this is my sister who's a teacher, love her to death, and she says it all the time, but burn it all down. Like, the system that we're living in right now is structured to support the people that are in power, and that's it. No more, no less. So until we can actually create something that's going to be equitable for everybody, that's going to support everybody, women, you know, people of color, black folks, like, until we can do that, LGBTQ population, like everybody. Until we can actually do that, like, we're going to be in this same situation. It's going to be cyclical, and we'll never actually be able to claw ourselves out. That's how I feel. I know that's negative sounding, but that's exactly why this is a tool, though, because we're getting ourselves to these tables to say, you know what, like,
this isn't okay.
No, that's not cool. You know what I mean? And we have the power to do that.
We do.
We're working our way to get there.
And I think we have the power to create our own tables. You know, we've been speaking about being at their table, but this platform right here, this is our table. You know, like, so, and we are power. So I think that we have to think about it as, yes, maybe we're not the superior race or the dominant culture, but there's so much power in our culture that we can create a power that is inclusive for the people that look like us. You know, we are going to get doctorates. We are advocates in the community. We are activists. And it's like, that is a power. You know, we can't undermine our power just because there's another power, because our power is just unparalleled.
I agree.
For sure.
I agree. 100%. And I feel like all of this needs to happen simultaneously. Like, we need to dismantle the system. We need to support the people that aren't at the table. We need to get more people
at the table.
Like, it all needs to happen.
It does. It does.
It can all, it can all
And
happen
it
at
can.
the same time. And it is happening.
It is. It is.
This is happening right now.
What's
on your mind is a thing right now.
It is.
Empower our crown.
Exactly.
No, but it's true. We're doing the work, you know. We just need to get more people on board, you know, because I think sometimes with the black and brown culture, we move in silos, you know, and we need to be moving together, because that's how you sustain power. You get a group of people and you reach to the top together, but instead we're climbing on top of each other instead of bringing each other up.
And when we think about black people, like, inclusivity, so like Haitians over here, Nigerians are over here, Dominicans are over here, I'm thinking they're black.
That's true.
So I did. Just mindful. But like thinking about like black people as a collective and really being honest with like who we are, what we bring to the table, and like let's leave white people to the side. Like let's not even include them or think about them in terms of our oppression, because the one thing that we all have in common is white supremacy. Like That's the thing.
That's so true.
That should be
That's so true.
connecting us. And just imagine if all marginalized people on this planet rallied together.
Yeah. How powerful.
How powerful it would be.
How powerful that would be.
Yeah.
And it's there. It's there. You know what I mean? It's there, and we can do it the right way. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? We can do it the right way, and we can literally uplift every single one of us.
Yeah, but it definitely takes a village.
Yeah.
Can't do it with 3 people. You can't do it, can't do it with 10 people. It takes communities wanting it. Like, do you really want this?
Yeah.
Right.
And one person at a time.
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
one person listens to this
Right.
and they're inspired by it,
Yeah.
then that's another person.
That's another
that we
person,
have
right.
with us
On our
that's
side.
rallying
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to fight with
Yeah.
the goodness.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys do to like take care of yourselves in the workplace? Like, because it's like we were
hard.
saying before, like navigating a 9 to 5 when you're the only Black person, or if you have multiple Black people, but you see there's definitely a hierarchy and who's at the top, and certain people always having the final say over you and having more power. How do you like take care of yourself? Like, what does the self-care practice look like at work? I know yesterday I had like a meltdown. Kris, I feel bad for Kris because Kris is always like the person that I lean on, and I'm just like ugly cry in front of Kris. But like my thing was leaving and going to a place where I felt safe, taking time to just breathe. I had to do some jumping jacks, get like my physical activity going, and then I had to like fake smile so that like my brain could think I was actually happy. And then I went back to work. And it looked like nothing happened. What are some? I know you mentioned just kind of like the processes that happen in your head and trying to just police yourself, but like what are some other things that you guys do in the workplace that get you through, or even outside of the workplace? I feel like if you care for yourself outside of the workplace, it allows you to come back the next day.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can go
Oh,
first.
thank you.
Yeah, you go first.
I know.
You're like, who should go?
waiting
You
for
go.
that.
You got this. You got this.
I think that was actually an excellent point that you just brought up about maintaining outside of work. And I think actually while I'm in work, I feel like I'm always fairly evenly killed. And that's a result of me, like outside of work, taking care of myself, doing that work outside of, the workplace, because it is difficult. And a lot of the structures and systems that we are going up against are tough.
They are.
It's hard work. Like, this is not easy work.
It's not.
So for me personally, I know I just gave a shout out to all social workers, but honest to God, like, I don't know what I would do if I was not talking to somebody about this stuff. If I didn't have a strong support system. And I realize how fortunate I am to have, a family that can take care of me, a partner who, lo and behold, is a social worker. But I have so many awesome support systems. And I feel like you have to have that.
You do.
You have to.
Yeah. For me, I agree with the support system. Like, I think I have a very solid support system, but I also am big on faith. I'm really spiritual. So for me, I pray a lot. I have to sometimes remove myself from the space that's causing like toxic feelings, literally like remove myself. If it's at work, I'm going outside for a walk. If it's too cold, I'll go in my car and play some music. I'll pray. At school, I haven't really experienced as much because I'm new there, but just taking that space from the place that triggers me. Mentally and physically, because it's hard to like heal or process when you're in that space. Like, even though I was able to do that in the meeting, it was so hard. So for me, I have to remove myself. I have to pray about it. I have to talk to like my support system and really just, know that it's a part of the plan. It's a part of the process that you have to just kind of go through sometimes, but you don't have to stay there. Like I always tell like my students or clients, like, this is a feeling. It's a real feeling. You never want to avoid it, but know that this isn't a space that you have to stay. It's not permanent. You have the choice to move from it if you want to. So I move.
I love that. I love that you're validating the feeling first and foremost, because I think, in the Black community, I know we tend to not validate these feelings, and I think it's important that we do validate them. And I just love the fact that you said that so much.
Oh, thank you.
I really do.
I want to hear more about Empower Our Crown.
Sure.
Can you just like tell us a little bit about it? Yeah.
Yeah, so Empower Our Crown is an organization that I developed to empower mentally and emotionally competent world changers. And what I mean by mentally and emotionally competent world changers is that you are mentally and emotionally woke. You know, before you can be a leader, before you can be a boss, before you can be the CEO of your top company, you have to be the CEO of your life. And in Empower Our Crown, I create spaces for people to access their mental health. It's people of color, women of color primarily, but I know I want to expand to communities of color because, like I said earlier, it takes a village, but really practicing that mental health and breaking the stigma, you know, because in Black and brown cultures, mental health is stigmatized. You know, we don't talk about it. We are too strong. Either that's the devil working with you, or we put all these labels on mental health that actually debilitate us more. So for Empower Our Crown, I really want a platform where people are safe, people of color, people who look like me are safe to express and process their mental health and then become leaders. You know, so it's like, yes, entrepreneurship, but health and wealth first. I say your mental health is your wealth, and if you feel good, you do good. So that's, in short, what it is. Thank you.
I love that. Because it takes a lot to be a boss, and I feel like someone who is like labeled a boss, people don't really understand like my trajectory. Like in all of the self-talk, negative, and positive that I have to deal with on a daily basis. I feel like people think I just show up
and and
it's like no. There's a lot of crying, there's a lot of low moments, there's a lot of low self-esteem.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of a healing process, and I think people think the same of me, like, oh, you got this, you got that, and it's like, no, do you know what I had to go through, what I have to continue to go through to even show up? You don't even know. Get in here. Like, do you know? And they don't, because they see the end results, which aren't even the end results, and they assume, and they put you in this like fantasy of, oh, you're doing this, and it's like, I'm still healing. Healing doesn't have a final destination. I just have chosen to maximize off of my healing and create a platform for other people to heal. But it's hard.
No, it is.
It's hard.
Every day is like a new journey.
It's a new journey. And sometimes we have to start over. And that's okay.
That's okay. I love that.
No, I agree, because I feel like a lot of people think it's linear, and like once you're in a good space, like that's your plateau, and you're gonna stay there. But no,
it doesn't work like that.
Like, this is like,
all over the place, and it's gonna always be like that.
Exactly.
I
feel like accepting that has been like my theme of the year. Is just really understanding that there are gonna be highs and there are gonna be lows. And when there are highs, you enjoy the highs. And I like to take that time to really unpack like the lows,
I like that.
To being
Unpack.
Low and trying to unpack my trauma. Then that just digs me deeper.
It digs you deeper
into a hole.
It digs so deep.
Can I just say that I didn't even want to jump in, because just seeing two very important Black women talking about this, like, I mean it legitimately. I think about my sisters whenever I see this, and obviously they're everything to me. But I see two Black women talking about this stuff, being being bosses, and it just is so amazing to see. And I am very, very lucky and proud to be sitting up here. So thank you for sharing. No, seriously, thank you for sharing all that stuff.
Thank you. We're lucky to be with you.
I know.
Black King. Okay.
I feel like there's like the subset theme of this is just supporting Black women.
Right.
You guys
I agree.
Moving culture, moving culture in the right direction.
We're saving the world.
We are.
If anyone's going to save the world,
it's going to be us. It is.
We're at the forefront
of
everything. Sacrificing our bodies, our minds, but still showing up every day for everybody.
For everybody.
They ain't showing up for
us. Yeah.
But that's another podcast.
I know. Oh, we could talk about so much.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No,
Oh my
that should
gosh.
legit
Yeah.
That should be
one.
on.
And that should be like a panel discussion.
Right,
Like, I want
definitely.
A whole bunch of black women on
You
that.
gotta
You
bring
gotta
them.
bring them out for that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you get
We
Jessica,
can,
you
right.
get- yeah.
Right, everybody.
All right. I'll
Everybody.
call you back. We're gonna bring you back.
I'll be here. Call me, sis.
So do you guys have any final words
Mm-hmm.
before we get into our mindful moment? Anything you want to leave the guests with or the listeners with?
Yeah.
You want to go first? It doesn't. Whoever want to go first. Yeah.
For me, it's to stay woke, and it's to stay woke is to be aware. So be aware of self and how you're feeling. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of who you are and how you can show up for yourself. Because when you show up for yourself, you can show up for others, and just keep going. But take breaks. Heal.
Yeah.
You know, heal in the way that you see fit, but keep moving forward. Like I say, like fall forward, you know, continue to go because the fight's not over. You know, if you have to code switch to survive, then we have to survive. It's life is survival of the fittest, you know? So you have to do what you have to do to survive, and it doesn't mean that you're not authentically you, because you can bring your authentic self to any space and still, you know, elevate. So stay woke.
I like that.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nah, I definitely, I feel like, you know, we don't look at code switching as a tool that we have in our toolkit, people of color, black folks. And I think that we need to do that.
Yeah.
You know, this conversation needs to happen more often. It needs to be normalized, I think. And, you know, obviously growing up biracial, that was tough. That was tough. So I think we need to normalize this conversation and say, hey, it's cool if you know how to talk to your homeboys, your friends, or whatever like that. But it's also cool if you know how to talk to, you know, the people in the corporate world that are running things right now, because that's how you're going to get to that table, create your own platform, and bring your people up with you. Like you said, elevate. So.
Elevate.
I agree with that. And just to add, like, not labeling it like a white way of speaking or a black way of speaking, but just like different ways.
A different way. Yeah. I love that.
I love you guys.
Oh, love you too.
So I'm about to go into our mindful moment, and this week it's actually more of a challenge.
Okay.
So I started off my day with some self-care activities, and I think that's why I'm feeling so good.
Okay.
So I feel like I want to practice, like, just implementing that more into my schedule before I start the day. So one of the things that I did was do a meditation, and the feedback from the person that was guiding it was just that, like, finding 15 minutes throughout your day to meditate might be hard, or even just the practice of beginning to be able to sit still for 15 minutes might be difficult for some people. So his advice was to try to do it in shorter time periods throughout the day, and utilizing like different things that you do often as your trigger or your reminder to meditate. So his example was like opening up a door. Okay. So every time you open up a door, just take like 3 deep breaths and like inhale through your nose and then out through your mouth, just like 3 times. And if you do that throughout the day, it might not add up to the 15 minutes, but it's gonna add up.
It's gonna add up, right?
So my challenge for you guys and for those listening or watching on YouTube is to try to see how you can implement some relaxation and breathing techniques throughout the day, where you're using, maybe it's like a timer on your like Fitbit every hour, or the example that they gave me, like opening up the door, or every time you open up your laptop.
So that's true.
My challenge is for you guys to do that, and I want you guys to report back to me, and well, not really, but report back to
I will. Okay.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And let's do it.
And everyone listening and watching, I want you guys in the comments to let me know how that experience is for you guys too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're so dope.
So are you. I love you guys. Yeah, no, this is
so dope.
It's so powerful when Black people come together.
Seriously.
And share.
Right. Like, just gives me life. Just share. We're here. We're just be. Like, just be.
Right.
you know,
Right.
Yeah.
And I love
Safely.
that our experiences
Yeah.
are so
Similar,
too.
yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times, like, we're just like, oh my gosh,
What should I
was the
do?
only one
Right,
in
right.
in that limbo, not white
Right.
enough, not black enough.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's
Yeah.
an experience that a lot of people have.
How
Yeah.
a siloed off thing is so true. You know what I mean? Because we really do. We have so many more commonalities than
Right.
we do
Yeah.
differences.
We
you know what I mean?
do. We do.
Just as Black people.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's dope to be able to just get into one place and be able to talk about that
Right.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, thanks again
Yeah.
for coming.
Thank
It's
you.
a wrap on this episode.
Mhm.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on, gotta throw up the dubs.
Bye.
Let's talk about it, talk about it.